Welcome to the Wellness Lab Digest, where we help you to absorb powerful, life-changing insights from top wellness experts with our daily bite-sized wellness podcast summaries. Each episode is packed with distilled, powerful takeaways to boost your health and well-being. To support this podcast, please scroll down on whatever app you're listening. Ratings and reviews are helpful. Even better, just send the show to a friend. Check out our sponsors at the bottom of the page, or simply click the Support the Show link below the episode description. Here's something that might surprise you. The most powerful health intervention we have access to only requires about 3 hours per week, yet most people completely ignore it. I'm talking about strength training, and what we're learning about its impact on longevity is absolutely fascinating.
You know what's really interesting about that? Most people think they need to spend endless hours in the gym to see benefits, but the research suggests something completely different.
That's exactly right. And what really caught my attention was this insight from exercise physiologist Mike Israetel. You can get incredible health benefits from just 2 30-minute sessions per week. That's literally just Monday and Thursday.
Well, that certainly challenges the common perception. But what makes strength training so uniquely efficient compared to other forms of exercise?
Here's where it gets fascinating. It comes down to intensity. Think about the difference between a Cessna airplane cruising at low altitude versus an SR-71 Blackbird breaking the sound barrier. Endurance training is like that Cessna. You can do it for hours with minimal wear and tear. But strength training? You're basically pushing your body through the sound barrier.
That's such a vivid way to explain it. And I imagine that's why recovery becomes so crucial, right?
Precisely. When you're putting those kinds of forces through your body, you simply can't, and shouldn't, do it for extended periods. It's like the difference between simmering something on low heat for hours versus flash frying it on high heat. The intensity is what makes it so time efficient.
That makes me think about all those people spending hours on cardio machines. Are they potentially missing out on bigger benefits?
Well, here's the thing. Both forms of exercise have their place, but strength training offers some unique advantages. For instance, when we look at world-class cyclists, they might be on their bike for 30 hours a week. But even professional bodybuilders typically max out at 8 to 10 hours of gym time weekly. That's because the physiological demands are completely different.
So, what exactly happens to our bodies during these high-intensity strength sessions that makes them so effective?
Let me break this down, because it's really fascinating. When you're doing strength training, you're primarily engaging type 2 muscle fibers, which are built for explosive power and strength. These fibers take significantly more damage during training and require more recovery time than the type 1 fibers used in endurance activities.
That's really interesting about the different muscle fiber types. I never realized there was such a distinct difference in how they respond to training.
And here's what makes this even more compelling. As we age, we naturally lose muscle mass, particularly those type 2 fibers. That's why you'll never hear a 90-year-old complain about being too strong or having too much muscle. In fact, maintaining muscle mass becomes increasingly crucial for maintaining independence and quality of life as we get older.
You know what I find particularly encouraging about all this? The relatively low barrier to entry. We're not talking about becoming professional athletes here.
Exactly right. And this is where the misconceptions about strength training really need to be addressed. There's this persistent myth about accidentally becoming too muscular, what Mike calls the myth of accidental muscle. It's about as likely as accidentally becoming a billionaire by putting some money in your savings account.
That's such a perfect analogy. And I imagine it really helps put people's minds at ease about starting strength training.
You know what's even more interesting? The time investment versus return ratio. When you compare those 1 to 3 hours per week of strength training to how much time the average person spends on social media or watching TV, it's almost embarrassingly efficient.
That really puts things in perspective, but I'm curious about the intensity aspect. How hard do you really need to push to get these benefits?
This is crucial to understand. We're talking about applying high forces and reaching significant levels of fatigue. It's not like Zone 2 cardio, where you can still hold a conversation. When you're properly strength training, you're pushing to what exercise scientists call mechanical failure, where the weights slow down and you feel that characteristic burn in your muscles.
That sounds pretty intense. No wonder the recovery time is so important.
And here's what makes this so fascinating from a physiological perspective. When you're pushing these kinds of forces through your body, you're not just building muscle. You're also strengthening bones, improving metabolic health, enhancing insulin sensitivity, and even potentially improving cognitive function.
Those are some pretty impressive benefits for just a few hours a week.
And what's really remarkable is how this type of training affects our bodies at a cellular level. The mechanical stress from resistance training triggers a cascade of biological responses that can actually help slow down the aging process. It's like we're programming our bodies to maintain their youthful characteristics.
That's absolutely fascinating. And it really challenges the traditional view of exercise, doesn't it?
It completely does. And here's another interesting aspect, the psychological component. Mike points out that while endurance training often allows you to get into this calm, meditative state, strength training requires a different kind of mental engagement. You have to, as he puts it, turn up the juice to really get the benefits.
That makes me think about how this might benefit people beyond just the physical aspects, like building mental resilience and focus.
Exactly right. And when you consider all these benefits together, the physical, the mental, the longevity aspects, it's pretty clear why strength training might be the most efficient health intervention we have available. It's like getting multiple health benefits for the price of one intervention.
Well, that certainly makes a compelling case for picking up those weights. Any final thoughts on how people should approach this?
I think the key takeaway is this. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. You don't need to become a gym rat or completely transform your life. Start with those 2 30-minute sessions per week, focus on proper form and progressive overload, and trust in the process. The returns on this investment are pretty much guaranteed.
That's such a practical way to look at it, making it accessible rather than intimidating.
And remember, every rep, every set is essentially making a deposit in your future health account. It's probably the best investment you can make in your long-term quality of life. Thank you for listening to the Wellness Lab Digest. If you have received value from the podcast, I have 3 asks of you. 1, share the show with your friends and send them a link to the show. 2, please leave a rating and review in whatever app you're listening. And last but not least, please let me know what topics you would like us to cover in the future. You can contact me by sending me a message using the Send Us a Text link below the episode description.